I used to think vegetables were boring, bland, but now each vegetable has its own like unique flavor to it, and it's like tasty. It's because it's not overwhelmed by all the sugar, and I also cut out most carbohydrates, and I, have healthy fats and basically primarily a vegan diet. Not much meat, not much dairy, but I do make exceptions. I'm not going to go into the whole nutrition thing, but I have studied it. I'm not an expert, but I think nutrition is very important. So maybe I'm a little bit of an expert, but I'm not a nutritionist by any means, far from it. But the point is that by analogy, tastes can also be applied to life. Like when we're really into pleasure and power, then our relationships are superficial because we think of people as a means to an end. We don't really appreciate the beauty of each interaction, of each person, because we're not mindful to the moment. I believe in something called perfect moments. I've written about it in my books. And I believe that like all interactions, all moments are sacred if you perceive them as such or are mindful of them as such. And I think that there's a famous expression, don't expect a miracle, or don't wish for a miracle, depend on them, or expect one. I forget the exact saying, but that's really, life could be a miracle in every moment if you're aware of them, if you're conscious of them. Maybe not in every single moment, but it's amazing how many wonderful things, like just, the generosity of a person's smile. And I know this sounds kind of corny, but, life is beautiful when you're mindful, and life is beautiful when you have taste. And by taste, I mean that you're not over inundating your life with sugar. Like, let me talk about that a little bit. Like superficiality and pleasure. Pleasure is good. I mean, I enjoy going to the gym. That gives me pleasure, and other pleasures. But my life is not dominated by pleasure, because people whose life is dominated by pleasure, they miss out on the interactions that are just like a warm smile that might fall into the radar if you're just like focused on other things. And a kind word, a pause in what a person says. I mean, life is in the nuance. Life is in the small things. And it's kind of like the vegetable. It's like, oh my God, this vegetable is so delicious. I'm just enjoying it. It's like, if you have too much sugar in your diet. Power is the same thing. They say that power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. I think power and money, rather, as I've talked about on other podcasts, just heighten who you are. Like Mother Teresa had lots of power, but she was just able to serve more because she's a very serving person. And some people with their money are very generous because they're generous people to begin with. Some people with their money are very selfish because they're selfish people to begin with. I do think money and power can change people a little bit, but I think fundamentally, oftentimes we are who we are, and that money and power just accentuate who we already are. So if we get a lot of power and we're a good person, we use it for good. And if we get a lot of power and we're a bad person, we use it for bad. It's not black and white because people are nuanced, obviously. But, back to the sugar and the taste analogy. So, go through your life. That I just had a podcast this morning on self-discipline, and I think that, sugar is like the antithesis of discipline. Sugar is just like, like I'm going to do whatever I want. It's called squeeze if you want to do it. It's about toothpaste and how we go through life basically squeezed like a tube of toothpaste, and also sandpaper to smooth out our rough edges. So essentially, if you want to really enjoy things in life, then you have to like kind of limit yourself a little bit. Limit your sugar, limit the other things that are good for you. You don't have to be like a monk or, give up all worldly pleasures, but do it in moderation and focus on the substance over the style. So I want to say a little bit about that. Like we live in kind of like an Instagram, Facebook, YouTube mentality where style is critically important, but you can't forget the substance, because what happens is style is kind of on the surface, and it's important. That's why like public speaking is important, appearance, dress for success. I'm not minimizing style, but style only is a doorway that opens into substance. Like people will say, oh, I like this guy's style, I like this gal's style, but what's behind it? So it's style is going to help you open the door, but if you want great taste, Get into substance. Get rid of the sugar.